Hello everybody, it's Hater. Welcome back to another Destiny 2 build video, and here we are once again talking about the Behemoth Titan. Clearly, if the last two videos didn't prove that it was good, this one definitely will, because what we're going to talk about is the exotic arms stronghold, making Behemoth Titans borderline immortal. So if you guys enjoy the build, leave a like on the video, comment what you guys think about the Behemoth Titan, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, follow me over on my Twitch for more Destiny content, and if you guys want to copy the build in today's video, there will be a dim loadout link down in the description. But to start things off, this build isn't actually one of my creations, but a Destiny content creator named SelFu. I apologize if I mispronounced the name, but they posted a series of videos of them showing off the build, soloing the Master Proving Grounds Nightfall in under 13 minutes, completing the Grandmaster Proving Grounds Nightfall in just over 14 minutes, and how the build can survive some of the most ridiculous things in the game. All of their videos will be linked down in the description, so please, and I mean please, go over and show support to their channel. They worked really hard on this and clearly deserve the credit. But to put it in layman's terms, the way this build works is that there are a lot of damage reduction modifiers stacked together all at the same time to make the Titan borderline immortal as long as they hold a sword. The key component of the build is the Stronghold exotic arms with their perk Clenched Fist. This is going to maximize the guard stats on any equipped sword and heal us immediately after blocking, scaled based on how much damage we take before the block. Stronghold by itself can eat a lot of damage, but there's still much more to add to this. Another key component of this build, because we're using swords, is the artifact mod passive guard, and this is going to add another 50% more damage resistance while we're holding swords within a 15-meter radius of an enemy. Now we're starting to step into the very hard to kill boundaries with both of these together, but it gets even better, because in our chest piece, we can use damage resistance mods that further enhance our damage resistance up to a total of 40% when using two of the same ones. Then to add even more to it, on the Stasis subclass, we can use the Fragment Whisper of Chains to stack on another 40% more damage resistance when we're standing next to stasis crystals or frozen enemies. And the final icing on top to everything that I've mentioned before is the Charged with Light mod Protective Light, providing another 50% damage resistance after our shields break into red HP. That is 5 damage resistances stacked all on top of each other. This explains why the Titan can live with everything combined together. It's insane. But now that we know what each damage resistance buff is, let's talk about the loadout to pair with this. And to use this build to its fullest extent, we're gonna abuse the double special ammo loadout. I covered this topic in my double special stasis warlock build and broke down how running 2 special ammo weapons at once will cause heavy ammo to spawn much more often than usual. Since the goal of this build is to use the sword as our main weapon overall, a double special ammo weapon loadout will without a doubt achieve that goal. Starting off with the important part of the loadout, the swords. There are definitely a few options, but the two that SelFu uses the most are the Crown Splitter and Lament. Crown Splitter is the Titan exclusive sword and the only aggressive frame sword in the entire game, allowing it to deal massive amounts of damage when paired with perks like Surrounded. But where Crown Splitter lacks, Lament will fill in at the cost of the exotic slot. Lament's exotic perk Banshee's Wail changes the guard, allowing the sword to be revved, changing the light and heavy attacks of the sword to deal more damage. It also intrinsically will break anti-barrier champion shields when revved. The kicker though, that makes it even better for this combination is that its other exotic perk, Revved Consumption, heals us after damaging enemies. This adds an extra layer of defense on top of the already 5 massive damage resistances we have in this build. Other swords like Zephyr, Falling Guillotine, Soulless Scar, Bequest can be mentioned for this build, but without a doubt, Crown Splitter and Lament are going to be the kings of it. As for the double special ammo loadout, there are a lot of options to use in tandem to our sword, but it's heavily going to come down to what activity we're bringing this into. For example, from SelFu's Solo Master Proving Grounds video, they brung Lament for anti-barrier champions and healing. In their kinetic slot, they're using the grenade launcher Pardon Our Dust with blinding grenades to CC enemies, and a Cartesian coordinate in their energy slot so they can stun unstoppable champions. Of course, this is just an example, but it's definitely there to get the gears turning so we can make double special ammo weapon loadouts for ourselves. Now that we've gone over how the build works and what our loadout should look like, let's get into the nitty-gritty and go over the aspects, fragments, and mods of the build. For the aspects, we're going to use Tectonic Harvest, so breaking stasis crystals creates stasis shards that will act as our main resource for the build. Next, we're going to use Diamond Lance, mainly for the 3 fragment slots, but to also create a free stasis lance that we can pick up and freeze enemies with. As for the fragments, we're going to use Whisper of Fissures, so breaking stasis crystals or frozen enemies deal more damage and hit from a further range. Whisper of Shards, so each time we break stasis crystals, it gives grenade energy back over time. Whisper of Rhymes, so collecting stasis shards from Tectonic Harvest will provide healing if our shields aren't full, and overshield when they are full. Whisper of Conduction, so stasis shards can be picked up from a further range, and Whisper of Chains, as I mentioned earlier, so we take less damage while near friendly stasis crystals or frozen enemies. Usually I would say you guys can change these up to whatever you're comfortable with, but because of how specific the build is, these are honestly the best ones to use, at least in my opinion. To keep the ball rolling for the mods that make the build, we're going to use mainly a Charge with Light build to further enhance us. Starting off with the armor element, we're going to need 1 piece to be stasis, 1 piece to be arc, and 1 piece to be void. In my helmet, I have it as solar. I'm using the mod Elemental Charge, so picking up Elemental Wells will give stacks of Charge with Light. This will make more sense when we get to the Stronghold, but next to it, I'm using 2 sword ammo finders so I can get sword ammo as often as possible, because we want our sword to be our main weapon for the build. Moving over to the Stronghold, mine is stasis with the mod Elemental Shards at the end. This will cause stasis shards that we pick up to be considered as a stasis elemental well every 10 seconds. This mod is the reason why we're using Elemental Charge, because now with both at the same time, it means we're getting 2 stacks of Charge with Light every 10 seconds. Next to it, in this case, I'm using Overload Sword, but I can change it out to any champion mod to fit the current loadout. Over at my chest piece, I have it as Arc, and I'm using the Charge with Light mod Lucent Blade to increase sword damage by 35%, but its main purpose is the other part of its perk when we're using an arc mod with it, allowing our sword to charge faster. Next to it, I'm using a concussive dampener and an arc resist mod so I can proc Lucent Blade. Next up over at my boots, and as always in every build video, I have them as void with protective light, as I mentioned before at the end, with a sword ammo scav, and better already to immediately start healing my shields after picking up an orb of power. Finally, over at the class item, I have it as solar with passive guard from earlier and resonant siphon, so stunning champions will provide 20 to 25% of all 3 of my stasis abilities back, thus completing the build. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down in the comments and I'll get to them as fast as I humanly can. But that's gonna be it for today. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm gonna catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.